2011 GTI with an oil pressure warning on the dash at low RPMs. We're going to run a test, check the pressure on the pump. If it needs to be replaced, we'll go ahead and get started with the replacement. Okay, so first things first, to be able to perform that pressure test on the pump, just undo your oil pressure plug, then grab yourself a 24 mil socket and undo the sensor itself. It's located right underneath the oil filter. I'm going to use a rag just in case something spills. After you've done that, grab yourself one of these kits. It's a pressure gauge kit. It should come with various fittings for you to actually find the right size that fits your block. So once you get that put in, you're going to connect that to the pressure gauge and you should be able to run your test that way. Look up the specs for a specific oil pump, but it looks like for this GTI you don't want to see anything below 20 psi at idle. Do this test with your engine at operating temperature, because if your engine's cold it tends to give you higher readings. So I'm blaming the oil pump for being the culprit of this issue, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the replacement. Before we move any further, we gotta drain all the oil out of the pan. I'm using a T45 to get that drain plug removed. If it's not a T45, it'll be a 19 mil. So go ahead and check that. After you're done draining the oil, grab yourself a T30 because you're gonna need that one to remove all the bolts from the oil pan. So get all those bolts removed and the oil pan should come off relatively easy. Okay, now it's time to get to the plastic baffle. It's only being held on by 3 T30 screws. You're not going to miss them. It comes off super easy. So get that removed. Now we've made it to the pump. Remove all 4 T30 screws that hold the oil pump in place. Then we're going to move on to how we're going to get the oil pump off of the chain. Okay, so after coming back from that major bleed out, the trick to getting this oil pump removed is grab yourself one of these long picks and pull back on the plastic tensioner that's against the chain itself. Pull back on it and wiggle the oil pump a little bit. You want to wiggle it enough so that it comes off the chain. You should get it off with little to no complications. Now it's time to transfer the pickup tube from your old pump to your new pump. We're using the same T30 we've been using all this time. Once you remove the tube, inspect it, see if there's any debris inside it. If there is, just go ahead and clean it out and you should be all good to put this oil pump back where it belongs. Don't forget to prep and clean your oil pan as the new sealant needs to adhere nice and good to the surface. Installation is opposite of removal. Go ahead and grab the long pick, pull back on that tensioner and wiggle the oil pump a little bit just to get it where it needs to go. Grab the bolts, bolt that thing down and you should be all good. Once your oil pump is in there, don't worry, you're not missing a bolt on the pickup tube there. That one is for the baffle. Once you put the baffle back, that's the long screw T35 you removed from it. So put the baffle, put the screw, all 3 screws. So we're going to go ahead and do that next to show you. Let's not forget to clean the block's bottom edge where it meets the oil pan while we're at it. That'll give you best adhesion possible when it comes down to applying your new sealant. We're back to opposite of removal here. It's time to put that plastic baffle back up in there where it needs to be. 3 T35 screws, bolt it down, and let's move on to the next step. At this point your oil pan should be ready to accept new sealant. Just apply an adequate amount of it. Distribute it nice and even and you should have no problems with leaks. Time to put the oil pan back up on there. Grab all the T35 bolts that you removed from it. Don't miss a single one. Very important, you don't want any leaks. And when you do, go ahead and tighten them all down. Just make sure you do them from corner to corner and you should be all good with no leaks to worry about. Okay, time to perform that test again. We're going to rev up to about 2,000, 3,000. And of course the oil light comes on because there's no sensor in there. Let's check the pressure gauge. It looks like about 45 at 3000 RPM. As long as we don't go past 20, we should be all good to go. I hope this video helps in case you're wondering how to go about changing or swapping out your oil pump. Thanks for watching.